Welcome to another installment of GrokTALK, brought to you by GrokTALK.com and Grok Media, LLC. The Democrats continue to effectively work their affordability argument, despite the fact that they should have no legs to stand on. As an example of why that's true, we're going to talk about California and energy prices. Everybody in a Democrat state wants to be California. I live in New Hampshire, and I'm surrounded by Democrat states, all of whom have in some form or another attempted to emulate California's EPA or energy policies, which are anything but affordable. We're going to break it down. Grok Talk starts in less than 60 seconds. Not everyone can get up every day and look for ways to piss people off. But here at GrokTALK.com, we do that almost every day. I can't tell you how many times someone's lost their SHIT and threatened to end us. But we're still here, pissing people off. It's almost like we enjoy it. And we've been doing it since 2006. That's almost 2 decades of news, politics, and opinion, and now podcasts, and we're just getting started. We believe in principles before parties and politicians. We defend free markets and individual liberty, and if that makes you mad, it makes us smile. We're like Grandma after she stopped caring what other people thought. If that sounds refreshing, you need to check us out. This is Steve McDonald for GrokTALK, and we'll keep shining the light on them for you. California is a shit show. Yes, I said the word shit and the word show together to describe California, and that's being kind of polite, if I have to be honest with you. That place is a mess. It's one of the most expensive places to live in the United States, primarily because Democrat politicians made it that way. It was a deliberate choice. Not only a deliberate choice, but one that they embraced, applauded, and defend. It is expensive. Affordability, no such thing exists in California, and it continues to get worse. Why? Because the Democrats spend more money than there is, and then they have to go take it from everybody in California. And they do it with taxes and fees and fines and fees and taxes and fees. And you get the idea, right? Everything in California has a tax, and it's always going up, especially their gas tax, which is the highest in the nation. They have an issue with their gas prices. They're incredibly high, and they're about to get a lot higher and a lot scarcer, as in there won't be gasoline. And we're going to talk about that because Democrats are arguing that they are the party of affordability when everybody with 2 brain cells to rub together knows that that's complete bullshit. So let's talk about what's happening in California right now. From webpronews.com, California's energy sector is reeling from Valero Energy Corp's decision to shutter its Benicia refinery by April of 2026, a move that underscores the mounting toll of stringent state regulations on the industry's viability. The Texas-based refiner announced it would absorb a staggering $1.1 billion write-down rather than navigate Governor Gavin Newsom's escalating mandates, citing prohibitive costs and regulatory pressures. Keep in mind, they've been trying to live with the regulatory pressure and prohibitive costs of operation for many, many years. They can't do it anymore. It's so bad. It's become so expensive that they're going to write off $1.1 billion to get the F out of California. What does that mean? Well, the Benicia facility processes 145,000 barrels of crude oil daily into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and asphalt. And has been a cornerstone of Solano County's economy since Valero acquired it in 2000. Its impending idling will axe 400 direct jobs and 200 contractor positions. This will result in a 17% decline in Benicia's municipal budget. Their economy is going away because of California's regulatory state, which is a result of what? Democrat decisions, Democrat power, Democrat force, and Democrat hunger for money to fine, to tax, to spend on what? It's the most expensive state to live in the country. It has the highest electricity rates. It has the highest gas prices. Let's take Governor Maura Healey in Massachusetts, who is very much an acolyte of Mr. Newsom, who is saying Donald Trump is making things unaffordable. That's bullshit. You made things unaffordable. Joe Biden made things unaffordable. He had the same ideas in his head as Gavin Newsom. You're all the same. There is no affordability. If energy and fuel prices continue to rise, everything gets more expensive. Those are the two most critical things that have a fixed price that affects the cost of everything else. You have no clue about affordability, and everybody needs to know it and repeat it over and over and over. So back to California. California Governor Gavin Newsom was at a news conference in Stanislaus County when asked about the announcement from Valero. I can assure you, he said, beginning last night, we had all hands and we're in the process of addressing any anxiety that may be created or any market disruption that may be created by that announcement, reassured Newsom. He has no clue. Or if he does have a clue, he's lying. Guess why? Well, last year in October, the refiner Phillips 66 announced that it will cease operations at its Los Angeles refinery in the fourth quarter of 2025. That's right now. The end of December, they're done. This announcement came a few days after California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a new law placing additional regulations on refineries. This closure will affect approximately 600 employees and 300 contractors that currently work at the Los Angeles area refinery. Although Phillips 66 spokesperson Al Ortiz denied in an email to Politico that the closure was a response to Newsom signing the new law, California's treatment of its oil industry has undoubtedly been a factor. Interestingly enough, Chevron, the second largest oil company in the United States, had its headquarters in California since 1879. It announced in August of last year that it is pulling its company headquarters out of California and moving them to Houston, Texas. So why? Well, obviously, it's the taxes, it's the fees, it's the fines, it's everything. The entire environmental and regulatory energy structure of these states, which didn't just come into being on its own. We're not talking about federal laws because gas is a lot cheaper in a lot of places. Electricity is a lot cheaper in a lot of parts of the United States. In fact, it's cheaper in every other part of the United States. Why? Democrats, Democrat policy, Democrat deliberate policy to make everything unaffordable. And of course, the less money you make, the more unaffordable it is because it's a larger portion of the income that you have. So California's basically screwed. Gavin Newsom is saying they're all hands on deck. They're going to fix this. They're going to solve this problem. Here's a little clip that's going to tell you just how big the problem is and how much more expensive things are going to get and how Gavin Newsom can't do a damn thing about the mess he's made. Here you go.
Price increases. Here's the timeline that's about to wreck California's fuel supply. In December 2025, Phillips 66 in Wilmington closes. 139,000 barrels per day are lost. In April 2026, Valero in Benicia closes. 145,000 barrels per day are lost. In just 4 months, California loses 284,000 barrels of daily refining capacity, 17% of the state's total production. To understand the disaster unfolding, you need to know about CARBOB, California Reformulated Gasoline Blend Stock for Oxygenate Blending. This is not regular gasoline. It is a specialized ultra-clean burning fuel mandated by California law. Refineries in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana do not make it. You cannot just truck in regular unleaded from Arizona and call it a day. Only a handful of refineries worldwide have the equipment to produce CARBOB. These facilities are in South Korea, India, and a couple in Singapore. That is basically your entire global supply chain for California-specific gasoline outside the state itself. When 17% of in-state production disappears, those Asian refineries become California's gas stations.
So a little rundown from Alex Epstein at Energy Talking Points. California has really expensive gas because it has high excise taxes. It has cap-and-trade carbon tax. It has a reformulated gasoline mandate. It has a low-carbon fuel standard. It has summer blend fuel requirements. They have their own special blend of gasoline, as you just learned, and it's why things cost so much more, and they're not going to be able to get it. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to get a lot more expensive, and you're going to run out of gasoline. You are going to have no gasoline because nobody else makes that crap. except some countries in Asia. So what are you going to do about that?
The logistics are a nightmare. Tanker ships carrying gasoline take 30 to 40 days crossing the Pacific Ocean. The fuel you pump into your car in March was loaded onto a ship in January. Any disruption in that supply chain, whether a storm, equipment failure, or a spike in Asian demand, can leave California without gas. California Energy Commission data shows the state already hit record imports in May 2025, 210,000 barrels per day. That is before losing these two refineries. Stillwater Associates, an energy consulting firm, projects California will need to import 30% of all gasoline by late 2026. Nearly 1 out of every 3 gallons will come from overseas. For comparison, the rest of America imports less than 5% of finished gasoline. The infrastructure literally cannot handle this surge. Beniциa's port facilities take 4 to 5 days to unload a single 300,000 barrel tanker. That is only 60 to 75,000 barrels per day of unloading capacity, about half what the refinery currently produces. Converting the facility to a dedicated import terminal would require new pipelines, storage tanks, and harbor improvements, taking years to complete. Richmond's Kinder Morgan terminal could theoretically handle more imports, but it is already operating near capacity. The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach have their own constraints. California would need to nearly double its import infrastructure in less than a year. That is physically impossible. Transport costs destroy any savings from cheaper Asian production. Industry data shows 13 to 15 cents per gallon just for shipping from Asia to California. Marine insurance for these tankers runs $20,000 per day. A single ship carries about $2 million worth of gasoline, making them high-value targets for any disruption. Then there is the storage problem. California maintains just 11 to 12 days of gasoline inventory. The state's 24 million barrels of storage capacity sounds impressive until you realize 3/4 is already committed to existing supply chains. When you depend on 40-day shipping times with 11 days of inventory, any disruption means immediate shortages.
Well, I think the plan was to make everybody drive EVs, which of course are some of the most ungreen things on the face of the earth, and in a state, as I pointed out earlier, with the highest electricity rates, or damn near it most of the time, in the entire country. Californians are so completely screwed. Given the intractability of the motor fuel problem, the inability to create the infrastructure looms large. You can't get anything built in California on any kind of accelerated timeline. Ask the people who suffered in the Palisades fires, which was also a result of environmental policy and social policy. Homeless people started the fire. The bad forestry management made it worse. The winds picked it up. Thousands and thousands of people lost their homes. Nobody can build shit because the permitting process and the regulatory process is a nightmare. How do you think in a state, even if they wanted to, and they don't want to build pipelines, they don't want to build refineries, they don't want to drill for oil in their own state, they have it. They have no interest in any of that, which means it's equally or doubly deliberate that they want to make your life miserable. So let's just imagine, what if they could shove you all into EVs, which would have to be made somewhere else using fossil fuels because you can't make them any other way? Remember California's rolling blackouts? They have them all the time. They say it's because they want to prevent forest fires because of their lousy forest management, but it's also because they rely a lot on renewables that are unreliable. We call them unreliables, whereas fossil fuels, gas power, oil, nuclear, those are reliable. California doesn't like those. Deliberate decisions by Democrats to make things less reliable and more unaffordable. So California is experiencing blackouts because of green policies that reward or mandate unreliable electricity from the desert sun. The number of Californians affected by proactive power shutoffs, this is May of 2025, jumped 145% this year, according to California Public Utilities Commission data. California's own Utilities Commission is reporting a 145% increase in deliberate rolling blackouts. How exactly are you going to power those EVs, even if you could get them, as expensive as they are, and use them? Literally, no transportation options appear to be available to the state of California. It has become unaffordable. Affordability isn't even an option. This is the Democrat state of mind. They will never admit to it. They will never say it, But this is where you end up when you vote for them. California keeps voting for them, and then they do things Californians didn't realize they voted for. They make their lives miserable, intractable, and unaffordable. That's the lesson you need to take to every election, from town to city to county to state to national. You can't afford Democrats. They will screw you and then blame you and then tax you for the privilege of the misery that they create. Happy news. Don't be California. And that's what Democrats want to be. So that's your lesson for today on affordability. There is no hope of it with Democrats in charge of anything. So obviously, whether you like Republicans or not, it is in your best interest to not vote for Democrats. All right. That's it for today. We will talk to you tomorrow on the Morning Update, Monday through Friday, and next week on GrokTALK. Talk to you later. Bye.
GrokTALK.